Hey everyone, how are you doing? Hope you're doing great. And welcome to a new session of our distance learning courses. Today, we have got a very interesting lesson. So I'll be delivering a short yet fairly detailed presentation about a vocabulary lesson. So the vocabulary lesson that we've got today is, as I said earlier, about a very interesting and a rich lesson. So we're going to be talking today about food. So before we start, let me tell you how the presentation is going to be. So the presentation today is going to be divided into three main parts. First, we're going to be defining the word food. What is food and why do we need food? Number two, we're going to be having a look at some types or categories of food. Part number two, we're going to be talking about certain food items, and you yourself, you're going to be working on classifying some food items depending on which category they belong to. And then the last part, or part number three, we're going to be having some practice to check whether you have understood all the new learned vocabulary or you still have some kind of confusion. So let's start. Now, as I said, part number one is dedicated to defining the word food. So as you can see, we've got here a question. What is food? To put it simply, food is what people and animals eat to survive. Meaning that everything that we eat is food, is simply food. What people eat, what animals eat, it could be anything, we call it food. Food usually comes from animals and plants. This is answering the question, where do we get food from? Either from animals or from plants, as I said. It is eaten by living things to provide energy and nutrition. Here we are answering the question, why do we need food? Or why do we eat food? Simply to stay alive, okay, to survive, as we said before. It is mentioned here in the definition. Number two, to provide energy. We need energy to move, to do things, and for our body to function in a very good way. So we need food to get the energy needed to do all of those things. And of course, because we need the nutrition to stay in a very good health and to be able to do the things that we want to do. Now let's have a look at a picture that summarizes food in general. So we're having a look here at some types of food. So it is, as you can see, the title of the picture is Healthy Food Pyramid. So you can see types of food here. Now moving on to the next slide, we're going to be talking about types of food. So I want you to think a little bit about the categories or the types of food that you already know. Okay, I think you got the picture, or you're thinking about some food categories that you know. Category number one, we've got vegetables, okay? And the picture explains what do we mean by vegetables. So you can see some types of vegetables. You can see potatoes, onions, tomatoes, aubergine, and so on and so forth. Category number two is as much importance as the previous one, which is fruits. And also the picture is very expressive. You can have a look at some types of fruits here. Oranges, avocado, grapes, bananas, and so on and so forth. Next, or the third category, is drinks. So we've got vegetables, fruits, drinks. Drinks here, you can include anything that is drinkable, including, for example, milk, coffee, tea, oranges, water, soda. So these we call them drinks. Next category, we've got dairy products. So what are dairy products? As you can see in the picture, we've got milk, cheese, yogurt, butter, eggs, and so on and so forth. So these we call them dairy products. Come into the following category, we've got meat, and you can also include here chicken and fish. We're going to be talking a little bit about fish and explaining something very important. Next, we've got cereals or grains. So either you can call them cereals or you can call this category grains. Here in the picture, you can see some examples of cereals and grains. We've got here corn, we've got oatmeal, we've got rice, and so on and so forth. Next, we've got spices. Now, before we move, let's explain a little bit what do we mean by spices. To put it in simple words, spices are flavoring herbs, okay? So flavoring herbs that we use in order to flavor and to season our food and our dishes. Here in Morocco, we use a lot of spices in the Moroccan cuisine, like salt, like ginger, like saffron, like cumin, and so on and so forth. So we use them in order to season and to give a flavor and a good taste to our dishes and to the food that we do cook. So here we have covered a little bit the main categories of food. So let's go a little bit how would you say? Let's revise them together. I want you to revise them on your own. So the first category was vegetables. Then we've got fruits, drinks, dairy products, meat, cereals and grains, and then the last one is spices. Now, moving on to the second part of our presentation or our lesson of today, which is dedicated, as I said before, to you in specific. So what we're going to be doing right now is that I'm going to show you some pictures of some food items, and you are going to try to classify them depending on which category they belong to. As you can see here, we've got the first picture. This in English, we call it aubergine. So can you classify it? Can you tell me which category aubergine belongs to? I think the answer is very obvious. It belongs to vegetables. Number two, we've got cucumber. Mostly cucumber, we use it to make salads. So cucumber also is a type of vegetables. Number three, we've got coffee. I think this is an easy one. Coffee, we're going to categorize it with drinks. Next, we've got grapes. And here in the picture, you can see different types of grapes. We've got red, yellow, and black grapes. So grapes are fruits, of course. Moving on to the next picture, we've got fish. Remember earlier when I said that we're going to be talking a little bit about fish. Now, something to keep in mind. You can either classify fish as meat, or you can put it in a different category called fish. So you've got the choice. So we can either here say that fish belongs to the meat category, or you can say fish itself. Next, we've got beans. And beans, obviously, they are vegetables, right? Next, we've got carrots. And carrots, of course, are a type of vegetables. So we classify them with vegetables. Moving on to the next slide, we've got milk. So milk is a drink. Now here you've got two answers here. Either you can classify milk with dairy products, or you can say it's a drink. So both answers are correct, of course. Come in to the next picture, we've got radish. And radish, as I said before when we talked about cucumber, we only use it, most of the times we use it to make salads. So radish is a vegetable. And then we've got bread, and I think this is very obvious. Classify it with cereals or grains, as we said. Moving on, we've got here juices. And here we can see different types of juices. So juices are going to be classified in the category of drinks, of course.